Alrighty then. What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone's having a great Monday. I know it's a holiday for some of us, and to others, it's just a normal day. So, either way, happy Monday. But today's video is because of the chat earlier in my live stream. They were saying how raids are unplayable and that there is a new tab in the known issues board. I had no idea about this because the last time they said anything about the known issues board, I think it was like back in December. But we have been getting some updates here and there, especially, revolving around title update 17. But the only way to know that these things are updated, you would actually have to go to their known issues board and check for yourself. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to test out some things because some people are trying to say that the XP farm in General Anderson is messing with the raids, which we'll talk about here in a second. But let's get this thing started. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video. So sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. But in today's video, we are going to talk about loading errors in the Division 2 and their new known issues board tab. So yeah, here we go. Now, the loading issues, you would see the best way to test this out for your own character and your own instance would be to go to your network stats. Now, this would show you if you're getting, any latency issues, any packet loss, anything like that, it would show you. Now, if you stay on this tab for long enough, you will start to see it mellow out and you will see your average numbers. For example, me sitting here on Xbox wired into the internet, I'm sitting around 1280 and around 1500 for the receive rate. And what we're going to do is after we check out the known issues board, we're going to test out all the different settings and see if anything is related to each other. So I hope you enjoy. Now let's jump over to the Twitterverse. Okay. Now, here we are on Twitter, so you can follow me at Kamikazevondoom. We're making our way to 5,700 followers, and this is where you get all of your Division news before I make a Division 2 video or Division anything video. Now, as far as at the Division game, this is the official source for the Division. Now, this is Division Universe, so anything mobile, anything Heartland, Division 1, Division 2, what have you, it comes out of this Twitter page. Now, just to show you, I'm going to just scroll down here and I'm going to stop at the last time they ever mentioned anything about the known issues. So let's keep going. Get updates, follow them on Twitch. What's this one? Feedback, PTS, more PTS. I mean, I'm not seeing anything. Here's maintenance. Apparel event, holiday event, holiday stuff, ETF, more maintenance, the book, more holiday event stuff, more holiday event stuff, more maintenance. And oh, here we go. Known issues board. So the very last time they talked about this was back in December. Now I scrolled through all of that and made it all long and drawn out to prove my point. They're not very transparent when it comes to their known issues board. They expect you to check this and to see whenever they update it. Okay. Now just going through this really quick. Let me just scroll through here and see if there's anything new. Stability, all of that is the same. Vanity, gear, all of that's the same. Fix ready, all of that's the same. In progress, stability issues. Again, there's been nothing changed in here. Okay. Reported. Okay, so here it is. Now, this is the known issues board tab that everyone's talking about, okay? So it says stability issues, raid and countdown server performance issues. Okay, so it's server performance. So that would go to your connection info and you would see what your connection is to the server. Okay, so it says RAID and Countdown servers are lagging due to unusual high load factors. Okay, it says it's been reported. Now it says servers are experiencing high lag due to load factors. All right, so there is the post. Now let's test it out, right? So again, just sitting here in the base of ops. This isn't a clear baseline, but this is me in a safe area. Okay. So again, just me sitting here in a safe area. I'm around 1300 and it was down to 1400. Now it's spiking up, but then it's going right back down. Yeah. So again, like always, we're sitting around 1280 and around 1500. I mean, it's going up and down, but we can see a pretty, significant, consistency there. All right. So let's test out everything in the game and let's figure out what's really going on in the Division 2. Here we go. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up yet, what are you waiting for? Come on. All right, let's go. Oh, hold on. Before we even get into that, okay. General Anderson has nothing to do with the raids. All right. Let's just get this clear before I do all of these tests. Okay. Let's just get that clear. General Anderson has nothing to do with the raids. Okay. General Anderson is a off-site main mission, just like Manning National Zoo, just like Camp White Oak, just like Coney Island, all of those, just like the Pentagon. These are off-site main missions. They are not raids. They have nothing to do with the raids. And in fact, their main missions, some of these are strongholds, I'll give you that, but they're all off-site. The only thing that Anderson has in common with anything, it has the same targeted loot as Summit and Countdown, just like Countdown has the same targeted loot as Summit. So that's, the consistencies there with Summit and Countdown. And it shares a part of the map with Countdown. Now, Countdown's different. Countdown is a game mode up to 8 players. You match make, whatever, you get in your own server. That's different from the off-site main mission being General Anderson. But again, that's just comparing these two. These have nothing to do with the raids at all. The only similarities we have is that Countdown is an 8-player game mode similar to a raid. That's it. Besides that, there's no other, connection there. Okay. Now to further show you, it sounds like rain. Nice. Look at this weather. Dude, I wish we could toggle this on for like permanent. I'd keep the weather on. It makes it a little more fun. Okay, go to the pilot here. All right. You can see Countdown is its own thing. It's its own game mode. It has its own menu. Okay. Manhunt General Anderson is a off-site main mission, just like Manning National Zoo and Camp White Oak, like I just said. Same thing. Okay. Raids are their own thing with their own menu. They're completely separate. All right. And then you have Kenley College and then more off-site main missions like I showed you, Pentagon, Coney Island, and the Summit is also an off-site main mission. So Anderson has that in common with all of them. The only thing it has in common with Countdown is it shares the same map. Both of them are at the Pinko, and that's it. And it shares the same targeted loot as the Summit and Countdown. But trying to compare that with the raid it's just nonsense. It's a loading issue. Okay. So let's go ahead and test that out. We're going to do settings and we're going to do network tab. Okay. Now, right now it's super high because I'm around other players. All right. So if I look around, you can see, boom, look, Son of Batman right here. He's a known supporter. What's up, Son of Batman? I see you, man. But you can see in your network settings, you'll get a stupid high receive rate for your latency when you're around other players. but you can see the send rate for my latency is still around that 1280, 1300 mark. Everything else looks normal. So let's go ahead and test everything in the game, and let's compare results, shall we? Here we go. And here we go. This is going to be our baseline test for connection errors and different locations in the game. So you can see right here, I am outside of the base of ops. I am outside of the safe area. And let's see. So this would be our just general test for the open world of DC. Now you have to let the settings sit here for a second and stable out. That way you don't have any, misleading numbers. So it'll stable out here in just a second. Okay, so it looks like the send rate is hovering between 1280 and 1300. The receive rate is just around 1800, and then it'll jump up to 2000 and then back down to 1800. Okay, and then we are getting 20 and just about 20 for the packet loss, outgoing and incoming. Okay, all right, so 1280 ish and 1800 for the base of ops. That's what I'll say. So 1280 and around 1800. I mean, you can see it spikes up, but then it goes right back down. Okay. So let's go to our next location. And our next location is going to be the Dark Zone. So we are in Dark Zone West. And I'm just going to sit here around one of the checkpoints and then just test it out here for the Dark Zone just to get a nice baseline here. Okay, so I'll stand here. And let's see the numbers in the Dark Zone. Wow, the numbers in the dark. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to give it a second to steady out. Okay. So let it steady out. I actually had packet loss. It's about to go back down to 0%, though. And there it goes. Okay. So now that it has steadied out, we're around 1350. Oh, it just went all the way up to 3,000. Oh, it's because I'm getting shot at. Oh, okay. Those were about the same numbers. Now that our first test was right outside of Washington, D.C., I only made it, I only thought it was fitting to do the next test in the Dark Zone. So I'm in the middle of Dark Zone West, okay? And let's test out the numbers. So it was around, what was it, around 13 and 18 were our numbers, okay? Wow, you can see the receive rate right now in the Dark Zone is ridiculously high. Holy moly. It's almost, wow. It's going into the 6,000s. Now, the send rate is roughly the same. I mean, it's staying around that 1300 area, just like the base of ops. For the packet loss, the 20 and 20, that's just about what we had in the base of ops. The only crazy number here is the receive rate for the Dark Zone. This is crazy high. That's ridiculous. The send rate is the same, but that receive rate is over double what it was in the base of ops. Well, right outside of the base of ops. But see, now it's starting to lower again. That's weird. Okay. So that's your Dark Zone numbers, which are way, I mean, that receive rate is way high. Well, all right, let's go to the next test. And our next test, I am in DZ South. All right, let's test this one out. Okay, these numbers look to be relatively normal. So that 1300, that's about the same as the first two locations. And that 1500 under the receive rate, oh well, now it's dropping. That seems closer to the Washington D.C. where I was at around 1800. But it was crazy in Dark Zone West. We were around 6,000. Up, see, now it's jumping up. Crazy numbers. And then it drops right back down. And then it jumps. Oh, that's weird. Now let's see. Is it because there's someone around me? No, there's no one around me. It's very odd. But I mean, it's sticking around that 13 and 18. I mean, this is pretty much the same as Washington, D.C. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, I think I found the outlier in the numbers. So my numbers are way up high right now, and I'm pretty close to other people. Yeah, you can see I'm close to other people. So that's when your network settings, it's going to show a crazy number for the receive rate. It's because I'm around other players. But that send rate is right around that 1300, which is the same. So as far as Dark Zone West and South, they have pretty normal numbers. We just get really high receive rates whenever we are around players. So let's check DZ East. Alrighty, now we are in Dark Zone East. Okay, so Dark Zone East, I am not around anybody. Oh, maybe I'm around a couple people. So let's see the numbers. Yeah, so again, you can see it's starting to mellow out around 1300 for that send rate. And then you can see the numbers kind of balloon up for the receive rate whenever I get near other players. All right, so as far as the dark zones are concerned, they are giving you the same numbers as Washington, D.C. The only difference is in PvP, your receive rate numbers go up whenever you're around other players. All right, let's check the other locations. Here we are at the Pentagon. This is one of the outside locations from the map. So once you go into the map, you can see the only thing loaded in here is the actual Pentagon. That gives you the safe house and the two missions. So let's check this one out. Okay. So around 13, 1280, around 13, and then 18 for the receive was about normal for Washington, D.C. So we're about 1300 for the send again. And now we're about 1400 for the receive rate. So this is actually just a couple hundred lower than Washington, D.C., but it is lower, just by a couple hundred for that receive rate. But everything else looks normal. Okay, so this is the Pentagon. All right, let's go to the next. Here we are at Camp White Oak. Okay, again, this is outside of the map for Washington, D.C. All you have here is Camp White Oak. Let's check the settings. All right, and let it mellow out. There we go. So again, we're around 1300 for the send rate. And then for the receive rate this time, it's about the same as the Pentagon, just roughly around 14 to 1500. Now you can see under packet loss, we're at 19 and 18, and it's starting to go back up. Okay, so that's starting to come back to normal. But as far as the stats here for Camp White Oak, this is roughly the same as the Pentagon. Okay, let's return. Boom, ba-doo. Next on our list is Coney Island, and we are just outside of the Coney Island Amusement Park. So let's check this one out. So again, if you look at your map, this is only Coney Island, nothing else. And let's look at the network stats. Let it mellow out there for a second. And again, we're seeing, a little over 1,500. And then right there around that 1,300 for the send. I mean, these are all pretty consistent with each other. So Washington, D.C. was around 1280 and 17, or was it 18? The dark zone was around 13 and, around 17 again. For Pentagon, it was, 13 and 14. Oh, right here you can see it's dropping off a little bit. So here in Coney Island, it's actually the lowest I've seen out of any of them. So we're at 1280, and then you saw that receive rate drop down to probably 12, but now it's climbing back up to 15. So these are definitely a little bit lower than Washington, D.C. Just a little bit, not much. Okay, so that was Coney Island. Next, good old Manning National Zoo. Another outside mission where you can see it's nowhere near Washington, D.C. So here we go, Manning National Zoo. Go to network stats. Let it mellow out here for a second. Okay. So again, around 1300 for the send and around 1500 for the receive. So all of these seem pretty consistent. Yeah, all of these numbers seem pretty consistent. Next one. The Summit. All right. Let me sit here for a second. Now, this would be considered a safe area. So let me actually get to a mission because I don't want to be in any safe areas. I want to be in an actual environment that I could like shoot and move around. That way you can see the stats that way. All right, so it's going to put us up to floor 87. All right. Okay. So now that we are not in a safe area, let's check out the stats. Okay, so for here in the summit, wow, we're actually getting better numbers here than we were in Washington, D.C. Oh, no, okay. Now it's starting to mellow out into the same. Okay, so around 1300 for the send rate. Yeah, about 1300. And around 1500 for the receive rate. So again, roughly the same numbers as all of the other locations outside of Washington, D.C. And so far, Washington, D.C. had the highest receive rate. Okay, so let's keep going. New York City. And we are just outside of the Pathway Park mission. So we are in the open world in New York City, where you can see we are outside of DC or the summit. So here we go for New York. Network stats. And wow, again, starting off really, really strong. I mean, this and the summit have had the strongest numbers so far. Okay, it's starting to mellow out there a little bit. It's actually not mellowing out. Wow. Okay, so for the send rate, we're actually looking at 1400, which is higher than anything we've seen so far. And for the receive rate, we're sitting at about 2300. I mean, this is the best numbers, well, the highest numbers we've seen so far. Wow. And then it drops down here around 13 and 1600. I mean, that's pretty consistent with all the other places. But then it jumps right back up. Okay. Interesting. All right. Let's keep doing it. And then this is going to be our last baseline number before we look at the raid and countdown. Okay. So we're right outside of the Air and Space Museum, which means we are in DC. This time, instead of being right next to the White House, we're actually in the open world. Okay. So here is the open world in Washington, D.C. All right. Let it steady out here for a second. And we're looking at lower numbers than New York City, which is surprising to me. I would think that I don't know. It is surprising. So we're looking at, wow. I mean, we're looking at the same numbers as the Pentagon Manny National Zoo, Camp White Oak. I mean, these look to be the same numbers. Interesting. Okay. Around 1,300, around 1,500. I mean, it's dropping down into the 13s. Pretty low. All right. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Now let's finally do the ones that everyone wants to see. Oh, you know what? Before we do countdown and all of that, there's one more I wanted to check, and that's the classified assignments. The reason why I wanted to check these is because the classified assignments are also technically outside of DC. So they might give us different numbers. Because look, if you do the map, you can see we're actually outside of DC. Okay, so let's look at the stats here, and then we will check out Anderson Countdown and the raids. Okay, so again, let it steady out. Okay, so we're looking around 1280 for the send rate, and for the receive rate around 1500. We actually got packet loss there for a second. Wow, interesting. But it looks to be going right back down to 0. All right, let's see it all the way down to 0, and then we'll check the numbers again. And come on. There we go. Okay. Oh, and then we got packet loss again. Interesting. Interesting. So the classified assignments is the only thing to give us packet loss, right? I don't remember anything else giving us packet loss. So 1280 and around 1500. Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next one. Oh, man. I haven't seen this cutscene in a while. It's going to look pretty sick with my character. Operation Iron Horse. Yeah, there we go, baby. Slayer on the back and everything. Look at that. Nice. Pretty sick. That was totally worth it. I like that. Okay. So in the raid, let's go ahead. I don't want to be in the little safe area. I want to actually be in the raid. Okay. We had doors up.
Communication relay offline. Hostile radio intercepted.
You hear something? No. But the Colonel will kill us if we miss a whisper. I'm getting on the big gun.
Network settings. All right. Let's see here. It started off normal, but now the longer I'm in network settings, it's getting lower and lower and lower. Wow. Okay, so again, around 1300 for the send rate, but this time for the receive rate, we're around 800. So they were saying this is a loading error. Okay. Wow. Now it's down to 600. Interesting. Okay. So Iron Horse is definitely affected. Most definitely. Oh, let me get out of here. All right, let's check the next one. All right. So now we are in countdown. Okay. Now there is no safe area in countdown, so let me go ahead and check the stats. There we go. Okay. Numbers look pretty solid at first. I mean, they're looking pretty solid. Around 1200 for the receive rate, but I mean, it's... Oh, now it's starting to jump down. Okay. Yeah, now it's jumping down. Okay, so it's looking like we're around 1400 for the send rate. And then just around, I mean, it's still varying. I mean, now it's going up. Interesting. I mean, it's different, but it's nowhere near like it was for the Iron Horse raid. Yeah, it's starting to go up again. Okay. So this seems to be better than the Iron Horse raid, but not by much. This is definitely still lower. Most definitely. Okay. Oh, yeah. Another sick cutscene. I'm sorry, it's only a few seconds long. I gotta watch it though. Pretty sick. Oh yeah, I'm ready. Nyang. Oh yeah, sick. Okay, so now we're here at dark hours. So far, the lowest numbers we have seen have been in the Iron Horse raid. All right, so let's actually go up to the beginning.
Communication relay offline.
The mortar team is on standby to soften up the perimeter so you
I'll
can get
stop
through.
at the ropes.
He's on his way.
They've got some kind of active protection.
All right.
Intercepting our mortar rounds. Only a few got through.
Shit. You have to push through, Agent. This is our
And
one
now
shot at
that
this
we
place.
are here at the ropes, let's see what our numbers are at. Okay, let's see here. I mean, the lowest was Iron Horse, around like 800. I mean, we're getting the same numbers here. I mean, this one's around 700. So, dark hours, yeah. So, we're around 1300 for the send rate, and then around 600. Wow. For the receive rate. The incoming is super low for the packet loss as well at 11. Wow. Okay. Okay. So far, both of the raids are extremely low. The countdown was a little bit higher than the raids, but it was also a little bit low. It was a couple hundred off. But it wasn't nearly as bad as these raids. The raids are really bad.
Area detected.
All right, so our last stop would be General Anderson. Okay, so let's check this one out. Agent is currently in a raid. I'm in a raid? What? Oh, there we go.
You have left the raid group.
There we go. All right, now this is going to be our last test. So, General Anderson. And then again, this is another outside mission. This isn't like, connected to anything else. And this is also not the entire, let's see here, I'll show you the map. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. There we go.
Agent, Lewis's last known location was at the lab. Got word there's a black tusk
So here we go.
craft on their way
You have
to
your
the
map
plant.
right here.
You need to recover Lewis and signal Torres for extraction.
And then let's go into, oh no, we don't have to go anywhere. We're not in a safe area. We already started the mission. So let's go ahead and look at the stats. Stats are pretty high. Okay, now they're starting to lower. And we have packet loss. Oh no, it's starting to go down again. We had that for the classified assignment. Okay, the incoming is starting interesting. And then it jumps back up again. So this seems to be more consistent with the countdown. Oh, nope, then it jumps right up. Do you see those numbers? Yeah, see, now we're back at normal numbers here, 1,300 and around 1,400. And then it drops down. Oh, it's because I'm losing. Oh, I'm getting packet loss. So I'm getting packet loss here, and I'm getting packet loss in the classified assignment. But then you can see right here the receive rate just dropped down into the 900s, but then it goes right back up. It's nowhere near as bad as the raids. And then these numbers are starting to go up again. I mean, this seems to be better than Countdown. But then it drops back down. Interesting. Yeah, and then it goes right back up. Okay. So this one's probably more towards, like a Countdown or like Manning National Zoo. And then those raids are way worse than anything in the game. That's crazy. All right. So we just checked all of the network settings and loading numbers for each of the areas of the game.
Safe area entered.
I am Kamikazevondoom. I hope you found this somewhat informative. It seems as if the loading errors... let me just look here on the map. So around here, it's like 1280 and like 1700. Down here, it was around 1280 and like 1500. Again, 1280 and 1500. This was by far the best numbers out of all of them at like, wow, it was what, like 17 and like 25? And then again, 1280, 15, 1280, 15, 1280, 15. And then this one again, 1280, 15. And then we started getting around 1280 and like 10, which was pretty crazy. And then for the raids, we were getting around 1280 and 6. And then for this one again, around like 1280 and like 7. I mean, they're pretty outlandish, these numbers. They vary, but it's for sure that the highest numbers we saw were in New York, followed by Washington D.C., and then all of the outside missions, and then Countdown, and then the lowest numbers were the raid. It seems that both of those raids are really, really, really crazy low on the numbers. And, I mean, it's consistent with what they said. Loading errors within the game for those parts of the, of the map. But, all right. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. We saw that a lot of the numbers were going, really, really high at first, but then they would all mellow out to around the same number. Those raids were about half of what we saw with all the other ones, including Countdown. I mean, with Countdown, we were around 10 to 12, and then in like Iron Horse, we were around like 6 to 7. Crazy. But all right, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. We tested it out. Those seem to be exactly what the developer said. It's like some sort of loading error. You're not receiving enough. But to say it's because of one thing being done in the game, that's not true. What I do in the game is not going to mess you up, and what you do in the game is not going to mess me up. I think it all varies based off of your location, your region, your connection, whether you're wired or on Wi-Fi. I mean, there's so many different variables when it comes to the the network stats. But the one thing that is for sure that I just showed you is they're pretty similar. I mean, we're only talking about a few hundred kilobytes per second, but those raids are definitely lower. The Countdown was about a couple hundred off, but the raids were several hundred off. So, as far as blaming one part of the game to the other, I don't see the correlation at all. But just like the developer said, it does show that the loading numbers are lower in Countdown and the raids compared to the rest of the game, which they are. But all right, I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Hit that like, subscribe. I'm Kamikazevondoom. Peace. And in conclusion, let's go ahead and summarize our findings. So outside in the open world, about 1280 and 17. They're pretty normal. 1280 and about 15 or so for the Pentagon, Camp White Oak, Coney Island, Manning National Zoo, and the Summit. For New York City, we actually had really good readings. For the Dark Zones, we had pretty similar readings, around 1280 and around 14. But once you get around players, the receiving rate becomes to balloon because the more people that are around you. And then finally, we saw that Anderson and Countdown were both similar. And then we saw that the raids were the worst, but those two were very similar to each other. Now, to sit there and say that Countdown and General Anderson is the same as the raid is not accurate. We saw the readings, and they are not the same. We saw that the two raids were by far the worst out of all of them, but they're their own separate entity. We already saw it, the pilot and everything. Anderson is considered an offsite main mission. And if you're doing an XP farm or something like that, it's on that main mission. It has nothing to do with the raid. So to try to correlate the two is outlandish. It doesn't, it doesn't calculate. That doesn't work. Instead, it's a loading issue that they have seen and that the developers have said. Now, Countdown does have its own loading thing, but it's not nearly as bad as the raids. Nowhere near. And if you're saying that Anderson is doing that to the raids, wouldn't you think that the numbers would be the same? But they're not. In fact, the raid is by far the worst out of all of them. And in fact, Countdown and Anderson were just a couple 100 kilobytes off, where the raids were below half. So, I mean, it's a pretty, significant amount. But anyways, those were the findings. There are definitely loading errors in Countdown and the raid, just like the developers have said. To say that it's because of an XP farm is it's just ridiculous. But that is what it is. Now, if you found this helpful or informative, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Peace.